The beast from beyond. The skies over Earth had forgotten peace. Ever since the Dominion fleet arrived, a silence had settled, not the stillness of tranquility, but the hush before a scream. Queen Zalith, the galactic sovereign of the Varn Dominion, ruled not with diplomacy or deception, but with dread. Her crown was forged from black steel, her voice modulated by bone conductors to sound like prophecy. And her greatest weapon was not a fleet or an army, but Grav. He was no ordinary creature. Bred in the gene forges of Nethrun, Gravox stood 20 meters tall. A terrifying post-organic beast sculpted from cloned Tyrannosaur tissue, enhanced with vortex sinew and cybernetic reflex architecture. His skin shimmered like obsidian oil, armored with natural plating fused with embedded plasma channels that burned when enraged. His roar shattered satellites, his teeth left craters, and his loyalty belonged solely to her. When Queen Zalith first unleashed Gravox on Earth's outer colonies, she didn't speak to the population. She didn't announce an ultimatum. She simply rode atop his back, eyes glowing beneath her crown, her clawed gauntlet wrapped around the beast's neural anchor. On that first day, Grav tore through the defense posts of Taros 1, ripped apart the anti-orbital cannons of Skyhold Base, and crushed 2 fleeing hover fleets beneath his tail. Zalith stood tall on the saddle spike carved into his armored neck, calm as the world cracked beneath them. The humans scattered. Her message was heard. Earth kneels. But Earth didn't. Not completely. The mechanic's son. Over time, resistance cells formed, scattered and disorganized. Whispers echoed of a mechanic's son who had survived Grav's first rampage. Others told stories of a man who'd approached the beast without armor, weapons, or fear, just stood there in the ash of a fallen tower and stared. Most believed it was myth. A tale to give courage to the frightened. But Queen Zalith heard the tale too, and she was not amused. In the 5th year of the occupation, a human encampment on Virax 9 sent out a defiant signal. Bold, public taunting. They claimed they would not evacuate. They claimed they did not fear the Queen. And they included a signature, Joran Vale. Zalith laughed. She welcomed such arrogance. She descended personally. Gravox's claws sank into the crust of the dry earth, his gait so massive that each step sent out tremors for miles. Zalith sat regal on his back, her black cloak streaming behind her, the sun dull against her armored frame. The humans came to the valley floor expecting slaughter. What they got was pause. The man who remembered. Joran Vale didn't run. He didn't fire. He stepped into the valley alone, boots dusty, hands relaxed, and looked straight into the eyes of the monster that had flattened empires. Gravox, he said softly, as if remembering a name from long ago. Do you remember you? The Queen, perched high above, gave the order for the kill. Gravox reared back, but the kill never came. Time hung still in the valley like a blade suspended by breath. Gravox stood, claws sunken into rock, towering above the human who dared speak to him like a long-lost friend instead of a weapon. Zalith's command echoed through the neural leash, its pulse hot and sharp, demanding compliance. But the beast did not obey. It didn't snarl. It didn't charge. It simply blinked. Zalith's grip tightened on the control talon embedded in her gauntlet, feeding stronger orders into the neural band at the base of Gravox's skull. Obliterate, she hissed. Make him vanish. Grav shifted, his tail whipped once behind him, carving a trench into the ground like a warning. Joran didn't move. He didn't flinch. He simply lifted one calloused hand and held it out, palm open, fingers loose. I know you, he said softly. Not as a weapon, not as their beast. You're more than their leash. Gravox's mouth opened slightly. Zalith's eyes narrowed behind her visor. She activated the neural pain loop, a vicious impulse meant to remind the beast who he belonged to. Normally, it would bring him to his knees. Instead, he roared. But not at Joran. At her. The connection. The sound cracked the mountain rim of the valley. The saddle spike shattered. Zalith lost her footing, sliding down Gravox's armored side before landing hard in the dust, barely catching herself. Her guard squad descended instantly, weapons drawn, terrified not of humans but of her own creation. Joran walked forward slowly, unarmed. He stepped within a meter of the tyrant's maw. "Do you remember trees?" he said. "Before they trained you to see only targets." Gravox huffed, exhaling a hot gust of air laced with electricity and the scent of scorched alloy. Then, in full view of Queen Zalith and her elite guard, the beast lowered his massive head and rested it gently in Joran's outstretched hands. Zalith's jaw clenched, her soldiers trembled, her empire trembled with them. The Queen of the Dominion, the Empress of Thunder and Teeth, had lost control of her greatest weapon. To a man with no armor, no command, only a voice. "Who are you?" Zalith demanded, her voice a mix of disbelief and venom. Joran looked up, his hand still on Gravox's head. "I'm the one who finally listened." Zalith did not retreat. She rose from the dust with the poise of a sovereign who had never tasted defeat. Brushing powdered earth from her armored chest like a minor irritation. Around her, the elite guard formed a defensive crescent. Their weapons trained on both the human and the beast. But not a single one fired. Because even they had seen what should not have been possible. Gravox chose someone else. She glared at Joran Vale, her voice crisp with a venom she had never needed to refine. "Step away from him," she ordered. "Now." Joran didn't respond. He stood calmly, one hand resting on the creature's snout, eyes closed as if in communion. The dawn of freedom. "I won't step away," Joran finally answered, his voice steady. "He wasn't yours to take. None of this was." Zalith's face contorted with rage. "You think you understand him? I created him." "No," Joran shook his head. "You built what you wanted. But you never listened." The revelation came quietly, like the slow understanding of a forgotten language. Joran Vale had been there, in the gene forges of Nethron, a mechanic's apprentice, assigned to maintain the neural calibration equipment. He had been the one who spoke to the growing creature during the quiet night cycles, before they installed the control mechanisms, before they taught him pain. Gravox's eyes, burning with plasma-enhanced intelligence, fixed on Zalith. The beast moved with purpose now, positioning himself between the Queen and Joran. The elite guard tightened their formation, awaiting orders that could spark a massacre. "Kill them both," Zalith commanded, her control slipping with each passing second. The guards hesitated. Their weapons trembled. Because the ground beneath them had begun to rumble. Not from Gravox's footsteps, but from something else. From the horizon, shapes appeared, dark silhouettes breaking the dawn light. More beasts. But not enslaved ones. Free ones. The resistance hadn't just been hiding. They had been finding others like Gravox, liberating them one by one from remote outposts while Zalith focused on Earth. Joran Vale had been their voice, their translator, their bridge. "Your reign ends today," Joran said quietly. "Not with a war. Not with a battle. But with choice." Faced with the reality of her crumbling empire, Zalith made one final, desperate attempt. She activated the override protocol within her gauntlet, the failsafe designed to destroy Gravox's neural system if control was ever completely lost. But nothing happened. Joran smiled slightly. "I removed that the day you landed on Virax 9. I was waiting for you." The mighty queen of the Varn Dominion stood alone now, surrounded by her own creation and the resistance she had underestimated. Her empire didn't fall in fire and blood as the legends would have predicted. It fell in silence, with the simple realization that fear could never truly command loyalty. As the sun rose fully over the valley, Gravox made his choice. He turned away from Zalith, away from years of enforced servitude, and followed Joran toward the gathering of free beasts and liberated humans. Earth didn't kneel. And now, neither would the stars beyond it. The end.